This is the 28storms.com tropical weather update for Tuesday, August 9th. We are still looking at the tranquil tropics here in the Atlantic Basin. The National Hurricane Center is only highlighting the remnants of Tropical Storm Emily, which is now located in the north central Atlantic, but it only has a 10% chance of development within 48 hours. Simply put, that thing is not going to develop, and much of the rest of the Gulf, Caribbean, and southern, or at least the central and eastern Atlantic, are fairly quiet, along with much of the eastern Pacific Basin. Here's a different take on things. This is the latest service chart, and there's really not that much happening in the East Pac. Again, we still have that monsoon trough, but there's really nothing organizing along it today. Much of the Gulf and Caribbean are void of any significant tropical weather systems, along with much of the Bahamas and Western Atlantic. And of course, now we're getting into that time of the year where we have to start watching the tropical waves leaving Africa. There's one currently near 55 degrees west with a 1013 millibar low. And there's a second one here. This is former Invest 92L with a 1012 millibar low. Neither one of these features are in any hurry to develop. I really don't think the first one has much of a chance at all due to unfavorable conditions out ahead. But we're still going to keep an eye on 92L here, or at least what's left of it, because even though it's being impeded by dry air at the moment, that doesn't mean the upper level environment and the conditions could change down the road. I've shifted the frame over a bit more to the right than I normally do, but I can assure you that much of the Gulf of Mexico is quiet. We only have some daily shower activity along the Florida coast, but nothing that's going to develop tropically speaking. And as you can see, much of the Caribbean and Western Atlantic are pretty dead. Here we are in the Central Atlantic, though. That's the remnants of Emily. Even if it did reform, it's moving out to sea now. The latest infrared shows that there is a lot of westerly wind shear, and that's why this system is a bit lopsided. We don't really have much convection on the western side of a low-level center, if that's what you would like to call it. But I'm a lot more intrigued by the remnants of 92L Invest more than anything else on the chart today. As you can see, that northern semicircle of it really is void of any significant convection. Much of it is still located here along the intertropical convergence zone. But if we look at the latest visible imagery, we can still see that there is a fairly well-defined low-level circulation still coming into view ever so gradually. It's just really not experiencing much in the way of convection due to a lot of dry air aloft, which you can see a little bit better on the most recent water vapor imagery. And there's a lot of dry air out ahead of it, but that doesn't mean that this has a zero chance of forming. Looking further east, we see a series of tropical waves continuing to exit Africa, although none of them are showing signs of development at the moment. On the latest water vapor imagery, the moisture plume leaving Africa still looks fairly healthy, and it's just a matter of time. It looks like things may wait to really take off more toward mid to late August, but that's not to say that one of these waves can develop a little prematurely here out in the central Atlantic. I'm not going to bore you too much until we get some more model consistency, but the 12Z guidance has come in a little bit more interesting this afternoon. This is the latest 12Z CMC run, and it's taking our 92L to the west-northwest without much in the way of development, but we have another second tropical wave that comes off within the next 48 hours, and if I stop this at day 6 or 144 hours into the future, it's actually trying to develop that second wave into a tropical storm with a general northwest heading down the road. The latest 12Z GFS is even more aggressive with development off the coast of Africa. Here's 92L Invest. It really doesn't do much over the first 4 to 5 days, but as we get into the day 7 range, it's really trying to ramp up activity here. And in fact, by day 7, or 168 hours out, we have a developing tropical storm just to the south of Bermuda. Not to scare anyone in the island, but that's still a 7-day forecast, so we're not really too concerned about that just yet. And if we look very closely here toward day 7, we have that second tropical wave, much like the one that the CMC was showing developing. It's just taking it on a bit more of a westerly track, and therefore keeping it a bit more toward the south compared to the CMC as well. And there's that animation just to show you both systems once again. And there's that second one, and we even have a third tropical wave beginning to exit Africa by day 7. The latest 12Z ECMWF is very comparable to the GFS run with regards to 92L Invest. Again, here's the tropical wave in question, and it's taking it toward the west-northwest, and it's still keeping it fairly well intact here through 72 hours. We lost the day 4 frame today for whatever reason, but now by day 5 we have a tropical wave worth monitoring here once again well to the southeast of Bermuda, and by day 6 it's a little bit closer, but in this particular run the ECMWF makes a recurve a little bit east of Bermuda, unlike the latest GFS, and it doesn't really see the second wave that the other models were picking up on. But by day 7 here again is that third tropical wave that the GFS also saw in its latest solution. Here's just another look at what's left of 92L Invest. This is the 850 millibar vorticity. This is just another indication that this tropical wave is worth monitoring down the road, as it still once again has a well-defined low-level center, and as long as it can at least get out of that dry air, it will have somewhat of a shot in the medium range. And I keep on talking about this, but the wind shear really isn't all that bad in the Atlantic anymore. It's generally less than 10 knots across much of the main development region. So this is going to be an area or a hot spot to monitor as we get further and deeper into August. And even though it seems to be somewhat quiet out there for this time of the year, and we haven't had any hurricanes yet, that's not to say things aren't going to pick up in a hurry. And once again, you can check out that 28storms.com hurricane update. If you go to our main page, just go ahead and click on the link near the top of the website, and that'll bring you the latest update on what we're expecting for August and September. So once again, there's really nothing all that imminent in the Atlantic tropics this afternoon, but there are a lot of indications that things could begin to pick up here toward the latter half of this week and into the weekend, and definitely no later than mid to late August. We'll really be busy tracking tropical storms and more than likely several hurricanes out in the deep tropics. So enjoy this break while you can. Get your preparations together now before things really begin to pick up, and then it becomes a hassle with all the lines and all that good stuff when the storms begin to threaten the coastline. So just be ready, and we'll try to keep you informed as much as we can here at 28storms.com. Go ahead and check us out again tomorrow afternoon for another video update.